But let's say you have a patient who, instead of a 3 millimeter or less overjet, let's say they have a 5 millimeter overjet. So rule of thumb, if they have 4 millimeters or more overjet, you don't really want to pull them all the way edge to edge for their starting position in the appliance. You want to start, you're probably going to use one of these three on the left. So you're going to use either the 4, 6, or 8 vertical, but instead of edge to edge, you're probably going to use the 2 or 3 millimeter. And what you're going to do is you're going to flip it upside down. So instead of it looking like this, you're going to flip it over where the 2 and the 3 are upside down. And instead of the single notch being on the bottom, that single notch is going to be on the top. And what you're going to do is, since you don't want the patient to go all the way edge to edge and move them forward 5 millimeters if they have a 5 millimeter overjet, maybe we want to just move them forward by a couple millimeters. And so what we would do is we would have the patient bite into the positioner, and the number that is in the patient's mouth, in this case it's the 3, the lower incisors are in the notch that's marked 3, upper incisors are in the single notch that we flipped upside down. The 3 is the distance between that lower notch and the notch that is on the other side here. So this patient is 3 millimeters from end to end. Now if this patient has a 5 millimeter overjet, that means you've moved them forward by 2 millimeters, but they're 3 millimeters from edge to edge. So you still protruded them, you've only protruded them by 2 millimeters at this point. If we flip it around, so we still have it upside down, but we're going to flip it around, the 2 millimeter is going to be inside the patient's mouth. The numbers are on the opposite side here. I'll show you that in a second. But now the 2 is in the patient's mouth. So I'll flip it over so you can see the 2. The numbers are only on one side, so that's why it can be a little bit confusing. The 2 millimeters in the patient's mouth, so the patient is still retruded from end to end, but they're protruded from their natural starting position. So since the lower notch is in, the lower teeth are in that 2 millimeter, that means they are 2 millimeters from edge to edge in this case. So if they had a 5 millimeter overjet, that means they're protruded by 3 millimeters from their normal position. So don't feel like you need to start the patient at edge to edge, because that's probably too far. This is a way you can start them in a position that can be still comfortable to their jaw, and then you still have room to move them forward and titrate the appliance forward from this starting position.